Hello and welcome back to Diagnosing Life. My name is Ariana and I am your host, and I'm so happy to see you back here. Today, we're going to go way back. Today, I'm going to speak about how I became a surgical PA. If you've ever wondered what it takes to become a PA, or maybe you're a pre-PA student that's in the middle of application season, this episode is just for you. I'm going to walk you through my entire journey, the highs, the lows, the multiple breakdowns, all of the unexpected turns. And trust me, there was many unexpected turns, and how I ultimately landed a job as a surgical PA. What made me first think about pursuing a career in medicine? This question's a little loaded because I can never pinpoint one thing that had me say, absolutely, I want to become an MD, or absolutely, I want to become a PA. I feel that it was multiple things that kind of brought me into this space. And the first thing I can remember was this summer camp, a science summer camp, where we dissected a frog. And I believe I was in middle school when I went to this, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I fell in love with science and anatomy and kind of learning those things. Then in high school, I forgot all about science, to be quite honest. And I was more into politics. So I was in informative and persuasive speaking, and that was all surrounded about politics. And I really liked it. And I really thought I was going to become a lawyer. But then during those sessions, I remember getting a lot of questions about medicine, about the policies of healthcare or just medicine in general. And I fell into this rabbit hole of wanting to know more about medicine and how things worked. And I think that is when I decided that I wanted to go into the medical field. Then I went to undergrad, and I realized that the only things that challenged me was really my science courses. And I hated all of my political courses. And that's when I decided I was definitely going to go the pre-med route. And I really didn't know what a PA was, to be quite honest. I'm from a very small town. And in this town at that time, they really didn't have PAs. And if they did, I never saw a PA when I went into a clinic. I didn't know what they were. And so becoming a PA was never something that I thought I was going to be, but only because I didn't even know they existed. So, how I heard about becoming a PA, or how I heard about a PA, was that after I graduated from undergrad, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Um, Crazy, I know. But I graduated and I had done research in a lab in undergrad, and I fell in love with the research. I really, really liked it. And so I didn't know if I wanted to do MD or if I wanted to do a PhD. And so what I did was that I took that 1 year off, or so I thought it was going to be a year. I decided to go to a city that was 5 hours away, which was Houston. And I applied to so many jobs as a research tech. And I really thought that this was going to help me figure out if I wanted to do a PhD or an MD. Lo and behold, I got into an amazing research lab that had only 4 people. And to be quite honest, I still talk to them till this day. And my boss was a surgeon, a pediatric surgeon, and he knew that I wanted to become an MD or wanted to be in the medical field. And I was there for about almost 3 years, I want to say. And I hit a breaking point where I was so burnt out from studying from the MCAT, and I went to his office, full blown tears, didn't know what I was doing. And I told him, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I'm burnt out. I don't want to go to medical school. I'm tired of this. And in between my tears, he kind of told me, have you ever heard about a PA? And I was like, a PA, what is that? He's like, I really think that you need to shadow my surgical PAs. And so I did. I went and I shadowed his surgical PAs, and I loved it. They were able to do procedures on their own, and they taught me a little bit about what a PA was. They told me, yeah, we work 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week. We have a great work-life balance. And the best thing is that if I don't want to do surgery for the rest of my life, I don't have to. I can move to a different field, a different specialty. And when I heard that, I really enjoyed that aspect because I don't know about y'all, but I'm the type of person that I get bored really easily. And one thing I was scared about was what if I got bored being in one specialty? And so when I heard that PAs are able to move to different specialties, I fell in love with that and I ran with it. And that is how I learned what a PA was. It really was my boss that told me, I think you really should shadow my surgical PAs. I think you have what it takes to become a surgical PA. And I wish you the best. And if you need anything, just let me know. And, I really owe everything that I have learned and where I am today to that one doctor. And I'm very happy that he was able to show me that route because he saw that I was in a space where I just wanted to just end everything. I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And I honestly, if it wasn't for him, I really don't know where I would be here, where I would be today. Probably still trying to figure out my life. So let's talk a little bit about undergrad. In undergrad, I was pre med. And during that time, I was doing my classes, doing everything I was supposed to do for medical school. However, I fell into this cycle where I got new friends, and my friends were not pre meds. My friends were different majors that allowed them to be a little bit more lenient with their grades, to be quite honest. And so what ended up happening was for an entire semester, I'm talking about an entire semester, I disregarded all of my classes. I would show up and do the bare minimum. And I had this mentality of C's get degrees. And that one semester cost me my GPA. And what I remember, I was at my friend's house. We were drinking a glass of wine and our grades came out. And when I opened my laptop and I saw that I had gotten, I believe it was 2 C's. I got a couple B's and I got no A's. That was the first time in my life that I had not succeeded in school. And that hit me like a freight train. I didn't know what I was going to do. I remember sobbing and saying my career is over, my life is over because my GPA had dropped tremendously after that semester and I knew I had to change something. And so that day I looked at my friend and she was an engineering major. And so she also had gotten very poor grades and she was freaking out because both of our degrees are very demanding and require higher grades than other people that we knew. And so that day we decided that we were going to stop partying and hanging out with the people that we were hanging out with. And the next semester, we were going to hit the books and go straight exactly how it was when we first started undergrad. And that's exactly what we did. And fortunately, I was able to pick up my GPA, but it was never the GPA that I wanted. And it was a lower GPA. And that was one of the things that scared me when knowing that I was applying to a graduate program. Shadowing for PA school was a little bit different. So, as I had said before, I thought I was going to go the MD route. And so I had already shadowed a cardiologist for about 2.5 years um, during undergrad year. Everybody always asks me, how did this happen? It honestly just happened out of nowhere. I was volunteering at a hospital. A doctor came up to me. We started talking, having conversations, and I let him know that I was thinking about applying to medical school in the future. And he said, "You want to shadow me?" I said, "Absolutely." And from then it was history. I shadowed him and then he had me shadow some surgeons that he knew, an anesthesiologist. And honestly, it was an experience that I know not a lot of people have. And I was very fortunate to have. And so that's how I got some of my shadowing hours during undergrad. When I became a research technician, I got my shadowing hours by shadowing the surgical PAs that my boss was associated with. And I also got to shadow him a little bit in clinic as well as his colleagues. And again, I know I was very fortunate because not a lot of people get to have those type of shadowing experiences. When I officially decided that I was going to apply to PA school, I had to look at all the requirements for PA school, and I realized I had not taken 3 classes that were required in order to get accepted into the PA program. So I let my boss know that I was going to officially resign as a research technician, and I was going to go back to school and take those 3 courses. And I did that. I was able to take the courses all in one summer, and it was honestly extremely difficult to start taking classes again once I wasn't in school for 3 years. It was definitely a different experience because all of my friends officially had careers and had graduated years ago, as did I. And I was going back to school by myself, knew nobody, and was just getting prereqs in order to apply for a program. Now, once I finished my prereqs, I had to apply to the program, and I did not get in on my first try, and that was extremely devastating. During that time, now fiance and I moved to Austin, and he was working as a teacher, and I honestly just started studying for the GRE because I realized I had to take the GRE, and I started studying for it. That was in 2019. And then 2020 came along and COVID hit. Yes, COVID hit. And I knew I didn't want to get into PA school during COVID. And so we ended up moving from Austin back to the Valley. And during that time, I was able to obtain a job as a research coordinator, and we were working on the COVID vaccines trials. And so we were getting people ready to get these vaccines and try to figure out if the vaccines worked or not. And I did that for about a year. And then after doing that, I decided to become a CRA, which is a clinical research associate. And basically, I would travel all over the United States and making sure that people were conducting the research correctly and following all the guidelines. And once I did that, I got accepted to PA school. And this was right after COVID. I want to say it was 2021 or 2022. Um, I started PA school and things became a little hairy. Um, Burnout was real. And unfortunately, I quit. I quit PA school because it was extremely difficult for me. I had some anxiety issues that I didn't know I had. And I was very vocal about it with my department and with my advisor. And I let them know that I was having a lot of trouble pretty much understanding material, and I was having some family issues as well. And they advised me to go ahead and take a leave of absence. And so I did. About 4 weeks into PA school, I took a leave of absence, and they let me know that I can go ahead and come back the following year. And I was going to be a brand new student. Everything was going to be cleared, and I was essentially going to start all over again. And I took that 1 year that they gave me, and I took it to really reflect on myself and try to figure out if this was exactly what I wanted. And I got my anxiety under control. And honestly, it was the best thing I could have done for myself, because the second time that I got into PA school, it was extremely different. I was able to study the correct way. I knew exactly how to study. My anxiety level went down from 100 to 85. Let's be real, it wasn't down that much, but at least I was able to take an exam without fully having a mental breakdown. And I learned how to manage my time. Managing my time was so important in PA school, and it was something that I had never done in the past before correctly. And I learned how to do it correctly this time. PA school was extremely hard. I'm not going to lie. And when people ask me what PA school was like, or they ask me, I've had somebody ask me, somebody was applying to PA school and they're like, hey, how is PA school really like? Are the tests really that hard? And I was like, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like, at least for my program, we had 4 exams every Monday. Well, not once a month on Monday. We called them Black Mondays. And there were 4 exams back to back. Each exam had 50 questions, and you would take them after, once you finished one exam, 15 minutes later, you would take your second exam, and so on and so forth. And in one week, sometimes you would take up to 6 exams or 8 exams, something crazy like that. And I tell people, if you're going to go to PA school, you have to make sure you have a really, really strong foundation and a really strong support system, because having the support system that I had was the only reason I came out alive, to be honest. My fiance would cook for me. He would clean the house. He would take care of the pups, and he would make sure that I was still alive every single day. He would make sure that I wasn't studying past a certain time, because honestly, if you don't know the material at 9 p.m., you're not going to know it at 2 a.m. So why even try to take a whole night of studying? That's something I learned the second time around. If I needed clothes washed or hung, my fiance took care of that. He meal prepped for me, and he also made sure that every Thursday we had a date night. And what do date nights consist of? It means no phones, no talking about school, and just being present for him and I. I was fortunate enough that I went to school where my family was. And so I made sure to be with my family as much as possible. They would call me every day before exams. My mom would visit me, and I would talk to my grandma all the time, and my entire family was with me. And I am very, very happy that I had them as a support system, because if I didn't, I honestly don't know if I would be able to have finished PA school. And so that is one thing that I believe is super important to have, is an extremely, extremely big support system with you. I honestly had no idea how much I would grow, not only as a provider, but as a person in PA school. And PA school taught me how to trust myself. It taught me that even if you don't feel ready to do something, you probably are ready. It's just fear getting in the way. I've been a PA now for about 4.5 months. And one of the things that you have to do as a PA is trust yourself, and trust that you're giving a diagnosis that you are confident in. And I believe that PA school taught me to do that, because we had so many exams and so many practicals, and all of that just taught me how to trust myself. And I'm not only speaking about trusting yourself in clinic or trusting yourself during surgery. Absolutely not. I'm speaking in general, just trust yourself. And that is definitely something that PA school taught me. I knew that I wanted to help people in a different way, not just in the clinic. And I'm a very hands-on person. I learn with my hands. I like doing things. And one of the specialties that you can do that with is in surgery. And during my rotations, they were mostly surgery based, even though we go through all rotations, family medicine, internal, pediatrics, all of that. Most of my rotations, for example, OBGYN, a lot of people were only in the clinic. I was fortunate enough that my physician was in the surgery, in the OR a lot. And so I did a lot of surgeries with him, and I did a lot of procedures, and I loved it. For my general surgery rotation, the physician that I was with, he said, the hospital's your oyster. Go ahead and have fun. If I'm not doing surgeries, go figure it out. And so I was able to see many, many different specialties that time. And I fell in love with orthopedics, which is crazy, because when we did the MSK/orthopedic section in didactic year, I absolutely hated it. So knowing that I fell in love with orthopedic was actually really funny, and all of my friends laughed at me about it. So because of that, I was actually able to do an orthopedic rotation, which lasted 12 weeks. And during those 12 weeks, I was able to rotate between hand and upper extremity spine surgery. I also did knees and hips and sports medicine. And to be honest, I loved all of them except for spine, which is hilarious, because now I'm a surgical spine PA. But the rotation that I was doing, it was very different. And I really think that it all stems from who your preceptor is and how they teach you. And I feel that it was the one that challenged me the most. I remember coming home after my first day in spine and just crying, because I felt like a complete idiot. And that's the one that challenged me the most. And I knew that I had so much to learn in spine surgery, so much to learn. And that's when I decided I was probably going to go into spine. And I remember speaking to a spine PA. He told me, he was like, when I graduated from PA school, I said, I will never go into spine surgery. Never. I hate it. It's the worst. And he's in spine surgery now. And he told me, he's like, if it made you cry, if it challenged you, that's where you're going to end up. And I was like, absolutely not. And absolutely, that's exactly where I ended up. So for me, I just knew surgery was going to be it for me. As soon as I started PA school, I knew I was going to go become a surgical PA. I originally thought I was going to become a pediatric surgical PA, since that's pretty much all I knew was pediatric surgical oncology. And I really thought I was going to go into that. And I did my pediatric plastic rotation. I did a surgical pediatric plastic rotation. And during that rotation, it was really amazing because I was able to do that rotation in the same hospital that I once worked in, and it was amazing. And I was able to do a surgery with my ex-boss, which was a full circle moment. He's the one that told me to become a PA, and now I'm in PA school doing a surgery with him as a student, and it was really amazing. But anyway, when I was doing that rotation, that was my first code. And unfortunately, I was involved in a code of a 7-year-old while we were doing brain surgery on this patient. And the kid was down for almost an hour, and we were doing compressions. And it was extremely difficult for me. I remember I dreamt about that instance for almost a week. And that is the day that I decided that I didn't ever want to see a kid code again. And I never wanted to be in a room where there was a child undergoing surgery. And certain surgery is extremely intense. It's extremely fast at times, depending what type of surgery you're doing. It's extremely demanding. The hours are insane. A lot of people hated surgery because of the hours, but something about it just fit in with me. I fell in love with it, and I like the hours. I understand that you have to be up early and you'll probably come home kind of late depending on the type of day that you have, but I like it. I love it. And I'm extremely, extremely happy that I went into it. I would say if you're an aspiring PA or you're thinking about PA school, one of the things that I would tell you is don't stop. If you think this is where you're supposed to be, absolutely go for it. But just know that the road is hard. It's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. And it's going to be okay. If you're a PA student right now and you're in the middle of it and you're the thick of it, you got this. The light is almost at the end of the tunnel. Just keep studying, keep doing what you're doing. Just remember to rest. It's important to rest your mind. And please do not do all-nighters. If you don't know the material at 9 p.m., you're not going to know it at 2 a.m. So take your time and relax. You will always be able to study. So be patient with yourself. Your story doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be powerful and meaningful to you. So next week, we're going to talk about burnout, the true burnout of PA school, and what led me to quit. Yes, I quit PA school and I came back because I'm a PA now, but that is definitely something we're going to talk about, and I'm going to really get into it with you and talk about what happened and why I quit in the first place. Today's episode inspired you or encouraged you, please share it with a friend, a colleague, or a family member, and please don't forget to tag me on Instagram at diagnosing.life. And if you have any questions for future podcasts, or if you have any questions about PA school or life in general, please feel free to DM me, and I'll see you next Tuesday.